As a betrayal trauma expert, many women tell me, my husband said he doesn't love me anymore. And of course, that's devastating. It's confusing and it throws your entire world into question. But before you blame yourself, here's what most women who experience this don't realize. There's almost always something happening underneath those words. In fact, many women who hear this are actually experiencing emotional and psychological abuse without recognizing it. So if you're Googling, my husband said he doesn't love me, you are not alone. After interviewing over 200 women who have experienced betrayal on my podcast, here's 10 things every woman should know if your husband says, I don't love you anymore. On my website, I've gone into depth about each of these 10 things. So if you're like, tell me more about this, go to my website, btr.org/podcast. You can find this episode and then you can read the article that goes into depth. So I'll just give you a tiny little snippet here now. Number 1, if he says he doesn't love you, it's likely a tactic. Many women tell the story of how their husband's change of heart seemed really abrupt. There's a reason for this. Number 2, emotional abuse is happening before he says, I don't love you anymore. 3, if your husband goes from charming and saying, I love you one day to I don't love you the next, it's actually a sign that he's lying. Number 4, if he says, I don't love you anymore, it's likely that you experienced mirroring at the first part of your relationship. Mirroring is psychological abuse when somebody mirrors back to you the things that you like. So you think they're a certain way, but they're really not. What that shows is that you actually didn't know who he was in the first place. And that, of course, isn't your fault. It's because he was lying to you. Number 5 is similar. It's countering. So it's the opposite of mirroring, when they just counter every single thing you say. And they can flip back and forth between mirroring and countering. And that's also a sign that they're lying about whether or not they love you or not, which is completely destabilizing when you're in a committed relationship. Number 6. Some women talk about how this dramatic shift happens even on their honeymoon. I have a member of our community on today's episode. We're going to call her Denise. She actually talks about her honeymoon. Here's what Denise said about this.
It felt like he hates me. He hates my guts. I had asked him, when did your heart turn against me? So then he tells me.
We're going to get to her entire story in just a minute. I also had a honeymoon experience that I go into detail about in my book. So if there's a sudden change on the honeymoon and he blames it on something that you did, it's likely that he was lying before, not a sign that you did anything wrong. Number 7, financial control means he lied when he told you that he loved you. If your husband is controlling the finances, but he keeps saying he loves you, that's also a lie because financial control isn't love. Number 8, many therapists believe the lie that he's somehow changed the way he feels about you. And so they want to explore, like, why have his feelings changed? They don't understand that he's been exploitative from the minute he met you. So it doesn't have anything to do with his feelings changing or not, or something you did or did not do. Number 9, often when he explains these reasons why he doesn't love you anymore, his reasons are absolute nonsense. You'll hear that in Denise's story today. And number 10, it is not about you. It's actually about his ability to love. And you may find out that he was never able to love in the first place, which is what Denise finds out. So Denise, let's start with your story.
Yeah, I met my ex online. I was in my 40s, never been married. I had always said I didn't want to get married until I met the one, like the one, and made sure because I didn't want a bad marriage. Turns out that I apparently didn't really know completely what that looked like. So, yeah, he'd been married before, was a widower. He took care of his late wife and seemed to be financially responsible. The first date was great. But then the next date, we went for a hike and I was asking him questions and he couldn't answer simple questions like, what's your favorite movie? And it was really awkward. And the third date was just awkward. Something feels off. And I told him I wouldn't date him. I didn't think he was ready for a relationship. Like maybe he needed to heal some more.
How long after his wife's death did you start?
Like 3.5 months. So I told him I wouldn't date him, but we were hanging out as friends and we would argue all the time. People would say, what are you arguing about? Like, I don't even know. I don't know what we were arguing about. It was really confusing to me because I'm not a really argumentative person. But for some reason, I was drawn to him. And then all of a sudden, literally, one day he changed. There was no more arguing. It was almost like this happy wife, happy life thing. I thought, okay, He hadn't dated in a long time. That was a fluke. That's what I thought. He's realized he was just being an idiot, and now he's ready to step up and be himself and be respectful. And
Wow. That's like a sudden change of heart, right?
yeah, exactly. And then after that, we got along really well. It's so much fun. I mean, looking back now, I can see things that I didn't notice at the time. But at the time, everything seemed great. I just kept telling people like how blessed I was. This was amazing. His friends were all telling me how wonderful he was. Random people we would meet would tell me like, "You are lucky. He is a good man." My family loved him. I mean, it was like everybody.
Did he have kids from his first marriage?
He did. They were preteen and early teen. There were a couple little other flukes that happened while we were dating or after we were engaged, and I thought they were flukes. One of them, my niece was graduating from college, and I wanted to go to her graduation. We were engaged at the time, and he had never been to that area of the United States. So he's like, "Why don't you plan the trip then, since you've been there before? And we can do our family vacation and go to your niece's graduation at the same time." I'm like, "Oh, that would be wonderful." Like, I'd been there, he hadn't. So we asked the kids if they wanted to do anything like specific in that area. They didn't want to look anything up. So I was like, "I guess I'm planning it." And he was like, "I trust you." So we go on this trip, and then he starts getting angry at me for not having planned it better. And I was like really confused. That's what a lot of this whole thing was, is a lot of confusion. Like, well, you asked me to plan it. If you wanted to do it a certain way, you should have stepped in and planned it yourself or said you wanted something else. I mean, common sense. I saw on that trip what he was, just this angry, bitter, yelling at me. That was before the wedding, and I thought it was a one off.
Like a fluke.
Mm-hmm. And then there was one more that I see now as major. I thought it was him being under a lot of stress. It was right before the wedding. He said he wanted our bank accounts to be merged, which is what I wanted. I wanted 100% commitment, all in, everything shared. I wanted to be a stay at home mom. That was my goal. He was totally up for that. So, right before the wedding, he starts getting angry that he's paying more for the wedding than I am. And I was like, weird, because we're going to merge everything. He wasn't arguing that he didn't want something at the wedding. He was saying he wanted me to pay for it.
Are you okay if we pause right here?
Totally.
This is how mirroring works. He's not going to tell you how he feels until you tell him how you feel. So he can just mirror back to you your own interests and your own opinions. So he's going to find out what your favorite movie genre is. And then he's going to say, "Me too." He's going to wait until he knows how you feel about politics. And then he's going to mirror your opinions back to you. And then later he's going to, like, quote unquote, have a change of heart when really he didn't have those opinions in the first place. So when you're thinking about dating or getting to know someone, try asking them questions like this before you tell them how you feel and see how they respond.
That actually makes complete sense.
So then you talked about this period of time where you were just friends and he was arguing with you quite a bit. My guess is that was countering. Countering is an abuse tactic where they counter. Basically, everything you say, it's very similar to like a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
My son counters right now from time to time because he's 15. And I'm like, legit, every single thing I'm saying you're disagreeing with. And he's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, there you go again. This is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really immature way of trying to overpower somebody else. He was countering maybe to determine how confident you were in your opinions. And when he realized you're very confident in your opinions, he also realized he wasn't going to be able to groom you that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then he made an abrupt change to acting kind and egalitarian. That's where you saw that shift. When he realized you weren't looking for the strong, like, take charge type. She's looking more for a partner because It sounds like it was either arguing or everything was perfect.
Yeah, that is how it felt, and that's the way it was. It was extreme. Yeah, absolutely. It makes complete sense. I hadn't thought of those 2 situations in that way, but now that you say that, I was thinking back, like, after I told him what my favorite movie was, then he said that he liked that one too. Most everything, it seemed like it was a fluke that he liked the same things I did. It was like, "Oh my, we're like exactly the same. This is crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, this is crazy. I never imagined that we would like this many things the same."
They use communication in this way to manipulate us. That's why communication doesn't solve an abuse problem. And that's why the living free strategies are so important. Using those strategies will help you see what their true intent is and what they're actually doing. So he was using those tactics on you and you didn't realize it because why would you? We're not educated about this. There's no class in college that's like, here's what to do when your husband says he doesn't love you. You know? Did you know about any porn use?
That was really important for me to talk to him about before the wedding. He said he had a box of Playboys in the basement, and he was like, "I don't want to have anything to do with that. I just need to destroy those." So he told me he burned all of them. And I tried really hard not to push him because I wanted anything like that to come from him. He wasn't Catholic. I didn't ask him to become Catholic. I just told him going to church was really important to me and going together was really important to me. So we went to both churches. But then I noticed on the honeymoon that he was doing things on purpose to hurt me. Like, there were things before that hurt me, you know? I
Mhm.
didn't like that, or we need to work on this. But this, he would like abruptly turn away from me in bed, just like a rejection. And I told him I didn't like it, and he just kept doing it. I was like, okay, this is meant to hurt me, which was very shocking to me because I thought I married my knight in shining armor. The countering got so bad while we were, I don't even like to say intimate because it wasn't reality. Like within weeks of the wedding, he was screaming at me, telling me that I was selfish. I didn't care about him. Like, what is happening here? It was super confused. I mean, you've been through it, all the torture,
Yeah.
the angst.
So when he starts doing this on the honeymoon during intimate times, and I agree with you, calling it intimacy is like a joke
Hmm.
that because it wasn't intimate at all. At the time, what did you think was the cause of this like sudden change of heart?
I just thought he needed healing. He had a rough childhood. He was married. She was ill for a long time. He said she was depressed all the time. Then she passed away, raising his kids on his own. It's like he couldn't handle stuff at this point. I had lost my job. We had spent all of my money on groceries. My bank accounts were empty. I had absolutely nothing. He wouldn't put me on the accounts. He kept saying he was going to, like, "Oh, I forgot. Oh, we should have done that." So I had no income, no job, no money in the bank. I'm destitute. I had already had one miscarriage. I took a pregnancy test. It was negative, but he thought it was a positive, and he thought I was pregnant. And he was like, "Yeah, I think you should leave." Yeah. It was like,
And you've been single, so you're used to being independent. You're used to paying your own bills.
mm,
And then to be in this vulnerable position for the first time, trapped,
yeah.
that is shocking.
But I thought we were on the same path, going the same direction, and there were these like little jolts off of the path. But that he really wanted to be on that path and he would come back and we would keep moving in the same direction. 4 months after the wedding, things had gotten so bad, like screaming at me all the time. I kind of laugh, but it's not funny at all. I mean, look back and I'm just like, what the heck? It was just insane. He kept bringing up that trip we had taken and blaming me that we didn't do things that were kid friendly. And literally, I was begging him, like, I'm trying to be the best mom and wife that I can be. Please give me some mercy for not knowing what the kids would enjoy. Like, I'm doing the best I can. Yeah, I'm going to fail. I'm not perfect. Don't you think I deserve a little bit of mercy? And in front of one of his kids, he said, "You don't deserve mercy." It's just like, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go with that.
Oh, that is awful. I am so sorry. At this point, like, it's clear that he does not love you. I mean, that's awful to say because you're totally lovable, but he's had this like seemingly drastic change of heart. So, what did you do?
I finally started telling people what was going on. And I have a few friends who told me about the cycle of abuse. I didn't have any bruises or anything. I was confused, but knew this wasn't healthy, obviously. So I looked it up and I was like, okay, this is exactly what's happening. But it's not just like I'm dating and he's abusive to me. There was a wedding. And so, of course, like most women do, oh, but this is the way he was. I was going to get back to this point. So when I was shown the truth, started searching for a therapist, trying to do everything I could to heal it. During the time that we were together, we saw 4 different therapists, 3. They all sided with him, even after he was either abusive to me in front of them or he told them he was abusive to me, and they still sided with him. At one point, he was sitting face to face, my hands in his hands, and he was telling me how much he loved me and he was so sorry. And one therapist was like, "Don't you hear him? Can't you hear him?" I was just like, I don't even know if he means it right now, but in 5 minutes, he's not going to. That's the problem. And she didn't get it.
This is crazy pants. Were you
Yeah.
surprised at how unhelpful therapy was? Because it's kind of like everybody's solution. Have you been to couple therapy?
Yes. One of the questions I asked before we chose this therapist was, "Can you spot narcissism?"
Did she say yes?
Of course, they all say yes.
Wow.
They all say yes. And after that, she wouldn't even answer my calls. I think she was probably so confused by the whole thing.
It's really hard when you go to someone for help and you have to educate them about what's happening
Hmm.
rather than the other way around.
Then, about a month later, I left him the first time. I called someone to tell them I was leaving and that I was worried about his kids. This person told me, "We all knew it wasn't going to work out. That's why I was crying at your wedding." Like, I didn't know this person was crying at my wedding. And they said, "He will never let you have a relationship with the boys. He was completely fake the whole time you were dating. That's not him." I was like, "Why didn't anybody tell me this?" And said it was because they were afraid that he wouldn't let them have a relationship with the kids. But this person hadn't been really nice to me. So I was like, oh, do I trust this person or not? I have no idea. Were they playing me?
Mm-hmm.
I must have been looking up betrayal trauma, and I found the BTR podcast and I ended up listening quite a bit. I was able to use all the tools from the podcast and from the group because I was in the group a total of a year and a half. Going to BTR group was so enlightening. I could not have done this without BTR. Unfortunately, after that, he was like, "There's this retreat thing. It's a Catholic retreat for people on the verge of divorce to try to heal the relationship." And they say in there, if there's abuse, this doesn't work. So he set it up. We went to that and he said, "I want this. I want to be with you, blah, 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 blah." And of course, he acted like everything was great and we're all healed. That was right when all the COVID lockdowns were just starting. And I was like, I should be with him to figure this out, is what I was thinking. So I moved back and it was actually decent for quite a while. And then 8 months later, it started going downhill really fast. So I was trying to get to another therapist. And on the same day that we're meeting with the therapist, he tells me he has a meeting with a divorce lawyer. Just like, why are we meeting with a therapist if you're meeting with a divorce lawyer? And then he told one of his kids he was divorcing me. It felt like this guy hates me. He hates my guts. I had asked him, when did your heart turn against me? Because I still didn't understand that it was all fake beforehand. So then he tells me it was at our reception.
Your wedding reception?
Yes.
What, pray tell, did you do? The way you ate the shrimp.
I know, right?
What in the world?
It actually wasn't me. It was a friend of mine. He overheard this friend saying, she's got herself a sugar daddy. And that was it, according to him,
Right.
which is just a lie anyway. Like, you don't turn against your spouse because somebody makes a joke,
Yeah.
even if you don't like the joke.
No.
Yeah. And I was just in shock. And I was like, well, the timeline makes sense.
The true timeline. The second he married you, he was like, now I don't have to wear the mask anymore.
Yeah.
Now she's stuck with me. So that's the real timeline. After the reception, he didn't feel like he had to treat you well anymore. Not that he overheard somebody tell a joke.
Yeah. I think, honestly, he was telling people negative things about me before the wedding. There were people who weren't going to go to our wedding because they didn't like that he was marrying a Catholic. It didn't cross my mind that he would be complaining about me to his friends. So a lot of his friends didn't want to come to the wedding.
Through all the interviews I've done, I see a lot of patterns. One I see frequently is goldfish brain. They only care about the thing they want in the moment, like right then, like what is right in front of them. And so they'll say something to get that thing. And then literally 2 hours later, they'll want something else. So they'll say the opposite thing to get the other thing. And it's so confusing.
Yeah.
So to have him throw you under the bus at his own wedding, thinking that's going to benefit him somehow, while also grooming you long term.
Yeah.
There's these two simultaneous things that seem contradictory. They have a goal in mind and they can play the long game to get what they want, and they're able to groom until they get that. It just shows how unsafe the situation is for you, like psychologically and emotionally unsafe.
Yeah. Just some crazy stuff. So I ended up leaving again, and we ended up going to counseling. And while we were in front of this counselor, he tells me that he took all of the money out of the account so that I couldn't have anything. I had a new job at this point and I was making a decent amount of money. But he says that in front of the counselor. It's financial abuse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, he said it right in front of the counselor. So months later, when I was trying to get the counselor to write something for me, the counselor said, well, I can't lie and say he was abusive.
What?
It's like, I'm not asking you to lie. He was abusive right in front of you. He told me in front of you that he took all the money out of the joint account so that I wouldn't get any. Didn't you take notes? And he never responded.
He wouldn't even call abuse abuse.
I guess not.
They don't. Sorry. This is the woman who's always telling people therapists don't get it. And I'm like, what?
Right. And then you're shocked. Yeah.
I think I am still shocked. Like, even though I know this, it's still shocking when it's clearly, sorry, when I was like, I was thinking, yep, he's financially abusive in my head. I'm not saying that out loud. But then to hear that a therapist just completely doesn't acknowledge that's abuse is so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Yeah, I was in like crazy land. So we were apart. I got my own apartment. I think I just knew myself well enough. I had to keep trying until I got to the point where I was absolutely sure this was never going to work. So we were apart for like 10 months. I Told him I wasn't going to move back into that other house. It's like, I'm not moving back in there. So these are the things I need. While we were apart, I had been going to the BTR sessions. That was super helpful, really eye opening, but I didn't quite get it. um, and then we ended up getting this house. Everything fell into place. And I told him, do you really want this? Because if this happens again, I'm leaving and it's for good. There's
Mhm.
not going to be any more back and forth. This is it. And of course, oh yeah, of course, blah, 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 I'm so sorry, and all this stuff. He decided he was going to become Catholic. And he's like, will you be my sponsor? I'm like, no, if you're doing this, you're doing it on your own. Because I knew if I helped in any way, he would accuse me of forcing him. So I was like, if you want to become Catholic, that's your own thing. I never asked you to do it. I'm not pushing you. So he went through the whole process and became Catholic, and things got, quote unquote, better and better. And yeah, within 9 months, I moved out again.
At that point, you'd been going to betrayal trauma recovery group sessions. You'd been more educated about abuse from hearing other women's stories on this podcast. So at this point, was it a little bit, I don't want to say easier because it's never easy. And I don't want to say that it ever is easy, but there seems to be some kind of point where it clicks. At least there was for me, where I just knew I wasn't going to do it anymore. And up until that point, I don't know if I could have done anything else. I was doing the very best I could.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew it was abuse. My friends knew it was abuse. I still thought the cycles of abuse were getting smaller and smaller. We were weaning out of this abusive pattern, is what I thought. And so I was like, all right, we'll just deal with it when we're in this abusive pattern. And he's going to his own counselor that he was really happy with. And it seemed like it was going in the right direction. But I was definitely observing. I wasn't all in like I had been before. Before I would argue, when I went back, I was like, I'm not arguing anymore. I'm going to state what I need and what I want, and that's it. And then when I went back the second time, I understood to observe. And then it got to the point where I needed to get out of there. It wasn't safe. He was going to see the priest, and I said I wanted to go too. So we went, and literally he was screaming at me the whole time in front of the priest. And the priest was like trying to call him to integrity and was just exasperated. And then asks my ex, do you even want to be married? And my ex, with this shocked look on his face, was like, yes. like, how could you ask that?
Like, you seem like you hate her guts.
Right.
My ex said he felt trapped. And I was like, then leave. And he wouldn't leave. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's so just like ridiculous. So then the priest asked me, do you want to be married? But I knew if I said no, that would start a ball rolling that I wasn't ready for. So I said, I'm not quite sure. And then I got my papers together, got them out of the house, did everything that I could. One of the kids was out with family, and I was like, I cannot leave while he's gone. I need him to be settled back in school again before I leave. So that was like another 4 or 5 days. And it was so torturous. And during this time, I would tell him, you're going down this road, and remember what I said. If I leave, it's going to be for good. Is that what you really want? Because that's the direction you're choosing. I could have left at any time, but I was praying, like, I want the time that's the best for me, that's going to be best for the kids, if there is such a thing. That's when I want to leave. And all of a sudden, one morning, it was like, today. I'm like, all right, today. I'm leaving today.
You bring up a good point because so many women share, and I was this way. It just didn't feel right to leave. And I honor that. And then at the same time, it's abuse. There's no part where you're going to feel like, oh, this is great. It's just always going to feel terrible.
Yeah, and it's never the wrong time to leave either. It's not like you have to stay until, you can leave whenever. I didn't think God wanted me in an abusive relationship and you need this one more little bit of abuse and then you're good to go or
Yeah,
anything like that.
exactly.
I just felt like, all right, I'm good to go. Like I'm ready and it's time. So that's when I left. I wanted to read this Bible quote that I found that I don't hear anybody talking about. And to me, it has spoken volumes.
Oh, yes, please.
It's Second Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 9. Revised Standard Catholic Edition. In the last days, there will come times of stress, for men will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, inhuman, implacable, slanderers. I don't even know what this word is. Profligates, fierce, haters of good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding the form of religion, but denying the power of it. Avoid such people. I found that and like light came down from heaven. It seems to describe narcissism.
Perfectly.
Yeah, perfectly. I don't know why nobody else is quoting that. And then it says, leave them. Like, don't be around these people.
I love that scripture. I don't know if I've ever quoted it on the podcast, but I'm familiar with it for that same reason. Scriptures say all over the place, separate yourself from wickedness repeatedly over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And why no one is calling these guys wicked is shocking.
Oh, yeah. It explains a lot of what evil looks like. And it looks exactly like narcissism. Really intelligent, but at the same time, this 4-year-old tantrum.
Yes.
Yeah, I would describe my experience as being toe to toe with evil. It's not for the weak hearted.
No, women who come and share their story, like you, have seen evil, looked evil in the face,
Mm-hmm.
and had to figure out what to do
Mm-hmm.
when we didn't know that's what it was. It's not like we knew it was evil. We were being deceived and trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more difficult than anyone can imagine.
Like at the time, and for a long time afterward, I would not have said this, but I actually am at the point where I look back and I'm like, I like who I am so much better after having gone through this evil situation. If I had to choose who I was before versus who I am now, and to be who I am now, I had to go through this situation, I would do it all over again. And I think that's a testament to God. His whole goal is for us to have good and can bring good out of any horrendous situation.
I get it, especially when women are new and they're not safe yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The idea that the experience could help them be a better person sounds like victim blaming because it's
Yes.
sort of like if you were the person you're supposed to be, then this wouldn't have happened to you. Or alternatively, women who are thinking, I have to suffer through this, thinking they don't deserve safety, and God is like using their suffering to make them a better person. God does not think that you deserve to suffer.
Yeah.
And he does not think that who you are now is so bad that you needed to have this in order for you to be a better person. You're a wonderful person now. He loves you just the way you are. And through this awful experience, we do learn interesting things that I'm grateful for. I am grateful that I am the person I am now because of what I went through.
Yeah. A couple things that are just really practical, I guess. I can recognize this in other situations where I wouldn't have before. I recognized some other people in my life that I had to cut out in order to be completely safe. And I wouldn't have recognized that before. After I left the last time, I was like, oh, I'm going to feel this relief. And I didn't. And that's when I realized there's a couple other people that are treating me basically the same way or very similarly. And It was painful to cut them out, but after I cut them out, I felt the relief.
And that's why we're here. Getting to safety is such an individual journey for everyone. The only thing any of us can do on this path is continue to listen to ourselves. I call it our sacred internal warning system, telling us if we're safe or not, and continue to evolve our boundaries until we feel that relief. And I talk about this in the Living Free workshop. You try and then you still don't feel relief. And then you try again and it still isn't quite working. And then you try again. Like, just as an example, that Catholic retreat you went to for couples on the verge of divorce,
Yeah.
did you know that was you resisting this abuse? That was you evolving. At the time, you thought maybe this couples retreat will help me find safety.
Mhm.
And then you learned from experience that it didn't. So then you evolved and said, okay, now I know I can't go to therapy with him at all because that made me feel unsafe. And then we evolve and evolve and evolve until the point that you are today,
Mhm.
where you're like, I feel relief and I feel safe now. For me, my relief hit when I used the Living Free strategies and got complete custody of my kids because I was abused post divorce for 8 years.
Ugh.
So how do we get to actual safety? So glad that BTR was helpful to you.
Yeah, lifesaver. I went to groups. For a while, I went once a day, and then the second time I joined, it was a few times a week. The coaches were always amazing, so kind, but also firm and direct. Hearing from the other women really helped me hearing because you're in this bubble kind of in your relationship and want to really call it a relationship in your situation like you're the only one experiencing it, so you don't see all the nuances. I really think evil is not creative. It's like the same thing over and over again. So that's why all the stories have all these similarities. BTR group that is really helpful. I remember someone saying there was a situation where she thought she lost something and she was looking and looking and looking and looking forever. And then all of a sudden it was there. And she thought, oh, that's the whole crazy making hiding thing. And it just jogged my mind like that situation happened to me. I didn't realize that was abuse. And then using the correct terminology. That has been extremely helpful as a Catholic and going through the annulment process right now and being able to write my annulment letter with correct terminology that I learned through BTR. This was mirroring, this was future faking. It was just extremely helpful to be able to wrap my mind around what is the truth of this situation.
I'm so glad it was helpful. That's my whole goal in life, to help women see the truth, whatever the truth is, whether it's painful or not. The Living Free strategies are a way of observing from a safe distance so that women see the truth. I'm so glad that you're safe. It's such a brave thing to share your story, and it will help a lot of women. So thank you.
And thank you for everything you do. You're very courageous. I tell so many women about your website.